All right, guys. Hey, welcome to our Wednesday product call. This week we're excited to be able to have a very slightly different of a topic, but it's still on product, but it's on a lead type. I'm excited to be able to have two of my favorite people in the business, Uncle Jimmy and Gary Michels, here with us. They both work out in the Vegas office here as well, both locals here. Had a chance to basically watch them grow tremendously through this business, sell a lot of insurance, build a good team, lead folks, and it's been a pleasure working with them. And it was really awesome because I was talking to Andrew a few weeks ago, and we've had this lead for quite some time now. And I was like, "Hey, man, what is like one of the most like underrated, underutilized things that we have here at Family First Life?" And he goes, "Dude, it's the Ethos leads." And I'm like, "Man, I remember like we were selling a lot of those early on, and then like I just don't know what kind of happened, right? Part of it is because I don't sell insurance anymore." And and I was talking to Uncle Jimmy and Gary Michaels. Gary's like, "There's like 80% of my business." And I was like, "What?" And by the way, for those of you that don't know, Gary sells like a $500,000 a year for like, what is it, 3, 4 years in a row now, Gary? Dude, it's crazy. So, like, it's a phenomenal lead type. A lot of people don't understand it. For those of you that don't know where to get it, it is in familyfirstlife.com. You go to Lead Center, click the state, eat those abandoned cart leads. Um, Uncle Jimmy, it has a very unique name, right? So I think people don't understand the psychology behind it. So they go, I'm not going to touch it, right? The lead is called an Ethos abandoned cart lead.
Yeah.
Can you kind of share with them how it works, why you guys choose to run them too, and all that good stuff?
Well, when they first came out, there was an opportunity at a lock-in, and Andrew came in. There was about 70 people in the lock-in, and he said, "Hey, there's this guy that wants to do a split with everybody. His name is Kevin Dufusy, and who wants to do it?" And I was the only one that said, "I'll do it. What? I get the leads for free, and all I got to do is just run them and do a split with this guy." Well, everybody around the table said no. I ended up writing $90,000 with Kevin in like 5 months.
Jeez.
So they are grab bag. Something that you kind of want to do is so when you get them, it's real simple. I don't like to say I'm an Ethos underwriter because people just hang up on you. I think that's a bad pivotal mistake, and a lot of people do that. They're already pissed at Ethos because they either got sticker shock or they got declined. So why would you
Right.
affiliate yourself with them? And a
Right.
lot of agents do that. And even Grady has his script going out, and it's I'm an Ethos underwriter. Click. So I don't believe in doing that. What I like to do is I like to just ask them, how they're doing and build rapport with them. And I basically let them know that their case came back incomplete. I stole this from Gary. Um, I'm an underwriter. I'm a local agent here in Las Vegas. I see you're at, and I give them their address and I let them know I have an office on Patrick Lane. And then I ask them, we see that you filled out the app, but it did come back incomplete. Was it because you got sticker shock, or did life happen and just pull you away from the application on that time? And the reason why I do the sticker shock first, because I want to follow it up, and then I wait and listen, right? Oh, life took me away. Oh, it was really expensive. Exactly. So right now, the good news is I'm an underwriter and I can bring you into the free market, and because it's been over 7 days. And now Ethos is a quoting tool that charges a premium because they're not an insurance carrier. And I let them know that. And I'm actually an underwriter,
That's good.
a producer
That's really good.
that goes straight to the carrier for you. So I'm working for you. Okay. I don't get paid unless you're happy and I get you a policy. So my job is to find you what you want. And then I pretty much just ask them, what was your goal for life insurance? Because I want to know, is it protect your family? Is it a mortgage? Because then you're going to know what you got. You know what I mean? Oh, like I have a police officer that's going to come in on Wednesday next week, and he wants 250 grand. He just wants to cover his house. He's got 20 years left. He just retired. That's all he wants. So he told me that. So I'm not going to try to sell him something he doesn't want. It makes no sense, right?
Right.
Even though I know that 99% of people outlive the term, it's not my business, right? My business is to find what they need and get it and close the deal.
Right.
So, um, but it's a grab bag, okay? You're going to get a lot of sick people. The reason why they didn't get insurance, Stephen, was because they were too sick for Ethos. Now, and I always make this joke. I'm like, Stephen, You got declined? Yeah, you know what? Ethos is a AI computer tool, and they actually saw your cat had cancer, and they're holding that against you. And that's how I kind of break the ice. And then they chuckle, and then I'm like, so we're going to get to real companies that are actually going to do simplified issue, and we're actually going to be able to talk to a human being. And that's, I mean, basically, and I'll tell you what, Ethos, you're going to get the biggest premiums. You
Dude,
really are.
Gary, I'm gonna turn it over to you. Like, the craziest part is, by the way, I have ran Ethos leads. I had a guy, like, no joke. I remember doing this at the lock-in because it was probably about a year ago when you guys were running one. And I was, you know what? I'm like bored. I'm just gonna buy some leads. And I was like, oh, there's some Ethos leads in California. And I was like, screw it, why not just run the card? And like the first person I called, he was like 65, had like $25 million in real estate, was like, I'm looking for this because I just need to cover this purpose. That's it. Like they knew exactly what they wanted. You know what I mean? I was like, oh, like different. Not can't pay $32 for insurance, but like I own buildings, I own multiple complexes. Like I'm trying to cover because here's the crazy part, Gary. Like, you want to know what's cool about the Ethos thing? Is the Ethos leads, I should say, they're self-starters. They look for the insurance themselves. They ran the quotes themselves. They are self-starters, right? And so, Gary, how do you approach this lead? And it's one of your biggest. I see you in the office calling them and crushing them. Like, how do you approach this lead? You're muted, by the way.
What I want to augment what you said a second ago about that people go on there looking for certain things and the possibility for some huge accounts. Me and Jimmy today are having our third call with a billionaire.
Oh, I
Which
remember
Okay.
this.
Gary got on an $8 Ethos lead,
And
by the
yeah,
way.
and it was an $8 ethos lead that unfortunately he had Parkinson's disease. So my first approach with him was for an IUL, but then when we found he had Parkinson's disease, there wasn't much I could do with him except I went into the annuity conversation. And when I went into the annuity conversation with him, his mind said, well, and he got into his detail. He's building these homes and he needs to have this much protection and bring this much catch in per year. And of course, it's crazy numbers that none of us would believe if we can ever close something like this today. But we're one step closer to reality over an $8 ethos lead. And we have a 4 o'clock Zoom meeting with him today for the third time. He was just with Trump 2 days ago. So that's
Wow.
how connected he is. And it's that you never know what you're going to get. Okay. When you do these, when you have these conversations, but, um, yeah, so I would say I run about 80% ethos leads and about 20% leads for life IUL leads that are truckers and nurses that are
Okay.
just dripping on me and setting their own appointments on there and so I kind of have both rolling at the same time where I'm aggressively working the ethos leads, and then I have a dialer that's working my leads for life leads to kind of keep it rolling with the two of them together. Um, and to me, and I will always go for the $8 leads, but if there's only $18 leads, it's still worth it because the leads are people that are between 30 and 60 mostly. And I a little bit disagree with Jimmy. It's not these people are very rarely am I writing final expense anymore. My first 2 years in the business, I wrote a lot of business, but I had a lot of persistency problems because I can sell ice to an Eskimo and final expense, unless you're just absolutely so good at solidification, and you could be so good at it and still have a 70% persistency rate. And my persistency rate's up about 84 right now. And that's because I've switched a lot of my business to IUL. Okay. And we have an opportunity. It's my go-to every time on an ethos lead. Um, and unless they have health issues. And then I have, of course, then I'll have to go to a final expense. Um, and I think there was no script written, so I wrote one, and I've shared it with a lot of people. And I know Jimmy and a lot of guys in the office use it now, and I'd be more than happy to share it with you guys. But the gist of it is we've never met before. I'm one of the field underwriters for the state of Nevada and the city of Las Vegas. The reason I'm calling you is just back a couple of weeks ago, you were on the Ethos platform. I'm sure you probably remember it's a technology platform and coding tool for life insurance. And that right away, you're just telling them, kind of making them remember what they did. And I said, your case, the key, the transition right there is your case came back as incomplete. And then I do a power pause like right after that and let it sit there for a second, like incomplete. Yeah, what that means is you abandon your search, most likely because the costs were too high, there wasn't enough choices, or there was an IT technology problem.
Right.
And I say, in many of those cases in the state of Nevada, they get dispatched to a live local agent, and your case was dispatched to me. That's our script.
That's money.
Okay. Okay. And and I say, I've spent a little time and I found a couple options for you that I feel would not only serve as life insurance since you're 34 years old, okay, but you're not probably thinking about dying at 34 years old because you got a lot more living to do. Okay, you're probably thinking more about tax-free retirement and living benefits and how your policy can work for you financially, correct? And I'm asking to do a trial close in there. And asking those questions gets me to where I can get into a conversation with them. And then I've written about $160,000 so far this year, mostly getting into conversations like that.
Dude, I love it. By the way, Uncle Jimmy, is Gary's camera glitching or is it me?
It's glitching a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know if you know that, Gary, but your camera's
I
glitching
didn't
a
know
little bit.
that. But I've had some tech problems this morning. So, can you see me?
I can see you. It's just that sometimes when you talk, you start like glitching, and I'm
Oh,
like,
sorry.
I didn't want to interrupt you because your content was so
That's
good.
okay.
No, but
Can you
here's
hear?
what's
But the
crazy.
key
So
is,
like,
can you hear me? That's the
oh, I
point.
hear you loud and clear, and it's perfect. So thank you. Um,
Yeah.
what's crazy is like I've talked to Easton, I've talked to Dom, and so many of them, they're like, dude, when you actually talk to the client on why they abandon it, it's like a stupid ass reason.
Yeah.
Like Dom was like, you want to know one of the he was like, I called this lady and I wrote her an Americo app. He goes, by the way, like for those of you guys that are wondering, like you almost never write Ethos on an Ethos abandoned cart. You write all the other carriers
Everything
we have.
else.
Um,
Hmm.
and he was like, I called the lady and I was like, hey, notice that you're, kind of like you said, like it was abandoned. And she was like, yeah, because I have three beneficiaries and they only allow me to put two. Like just stupid stuff like that, like Easton
It's
was like, oh,
true.
it's because I couldn't pick something on there that I wanted, so I just stopped
I
doing it.
couldn't pick the date of my draft of my banking. Like
Yeah.
simple fixes that Ethos should do because they're supposedly a technology company that sells insurance that they don't do though. But those are reasons because they want my social security number and I'm not comfortable giving it to them for a quote.
When there's no human element of us being able to overcome that objection, that's huge, you
Right.
know?
And that's the reason why, like, I look at it going like these, this type of lead specifically, is such a unique thing because they're already buyers. They have an attempt to buy, right? It's a lot more of a high intent lead. Now we just got to be good agents and put them into something that makes a lot of sense for them. The other thing that I want to clarify, because a lot of people ask this question too, Ethos doesn't do this with your leads. Meaning, let's say Amin sends a friend of his a link to his Ethos link, and that guy doesn't finish purchasing. They don't turn that guy into a lead and throw it into the ILC. That they don't do that with our clients. They only do it with their marketing. So you don't have to worry about your clients going into the ILC for someone else to call, right? Like just making sure we understand that. But Uncle Jimmy, it's funny you say that because you talked about how someone gave you the ability to run their business and split them 50% and the amount of people that said no and you're the only one that said yes. Like I look at that scenario and I laugh because I'm sitting there going, I'd take that in a heartbeat.
I know, but people are it was funny because he gave everybody an opportunity. Everyone said no. When they saw me have success with it, they all wanted to jump on, and he was like, no.
Right.
No, because You know what I mean? Everyone had the same opportunity. And to me, it all adds up in the end. Okay. And if you want to eat, you have to have several baskets and have several, and kind of what I've learned a lot from my nephew is when I go to convention, I go to lock-ins, I'm networking with people. I'm asking what they're doing. I'm finding new friends. I actually have a huge connection in the annuity business that might be who we have to use because it's such a large case, unfortunately. So without me going, and I went to a local convention here in Las Vegas, and me and Gary are kind of trying to figure out this billionaire's needs, and I get called by the kid that, and he just asked me how I was doing, and then we started having a conversation. One thing led to another, and I got an illustration in like 5 minutes from the CEO of his company, by the way, who is now an integrity partner. Brian Adams was actually in their office the day that we had our call. Pretty
Nice.
funny how small a world our insurance company is,
Right.
right? Space is. I mean, so, but honestly, if you're out there and you don't know what to buy, buy the Ethos leads because the premiums are huge. You are going to run into sick people. It is a fact. Gary had a big time trucker yesterday, and the guy is 29 years old and he had HIV.
Wow.
So again, they're not all great,
No,
but
that was a Facebook lead though. We don't get a
oh,
lot of bad ones on Ethos. I,
well,
I I
I
really
do.
feel like we
Yeah.
don't get a lot of bad ones on Ethos. And also
And
another nice thing is we don't get a lot of bad phone numbers.
no, you
Like
don't
I
get any bad stuff.
rarely have to like, oh, that was a bad number. It was a bad number. Very rarely is it a wrong number.
Well, the good thing is Integrity Lead Center, the ILC, makes sure that everything is scrubbed and
Right.
up to date for us, right? It's compliant. Whereas our Facebook leads, when we're generating them, Facebook's just making money on us. Let's be honest. There's just enough low-hanging fruit. We're going to make some money, and no one's going to complain, right?
Right.
But compliant wise, I think the ILC is your best bet. I think Ethos. I mean, unless you just want to run final expense. I mean, we did a lock-in in last month and we sold $272,000 in final expense outsold IULs. And the leading people sold IULs. One kid sold 28,000, Merced sold like 24,000, but the final expense ruled the day, right, Stephen?
Dude, it's Uncle Jimmy and Gary. It's like I've said this, man. I'm not saying don't sell IULs because I've never taken that approach, but I'm like, dude, final expense was the backbone of this company for like 8, 9 years. It's what got us to where we were. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's interesting. Like people say, go get them the real fancy F&G and NLG IULs. And I'm only doing that if that's really specifically what they're asking for.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm putting them in a simple issue, okay, IUL, and getting paid and getting them approved that day. And most of it's Moo and America.
America. Yeah.
Okay, unless
So
but I'm having conversations a lot more than I used to about what their real needs are, and I'm making sure to talk to them about overfunding it because we don't want to put them in those moves and the Americas and not give them the right guidance to overfund it and get the most out of it. But for most people that aren't that knowledgeable and they overfund a simple issue Moo or America, they're getting a pretty damn good deal, and they're
Oh
getting
yeah.
and often also one thing that I noticed is recently when I've been quoting out an Americo simple issue versus the cost of an NLG or F&G, it's cheaper with Americo. So I'm actually doing them
Hmm.
a service by giving them the simple issue options too, because who wants to wait 3, 4 weeks sometimes to get all the underwriting done? It's going to hold you back.
Right.
So you have to kind of weigh that a little bit. But most of my stuff I've written has been simple issue stuff.
Dude, in our business, when you're leads driven, you need to have money coming in to pay for your lead bill and your expenses. You know what I mean?
Right.
I always call like IULs and all those annuity cases, I call them parachute money. Like if they come in, it's like a lump sum
nothing
dropped in
wrong
at
with
once and I'm
Colorado.
happy. You know what I mean? But like I'm gonna have my daily final expense, general life, mortgage protection, simplified IULs, whatever it is, that I know I can write today and get paid tomorrow. Like, because I got to feed my family too. You know what I mean? And people like make the argument like, is it really good for the client? Yeah, because they're covered. Like, and the argument is like the coverage in place when they die is more important than what they could have gotten.
Right.
Just saying.
It's funny
Absolutely.
because a lot of agents want to write NLG and F&G, and it was um, Rob Richmond was here with his team from Texas, and I wrote a pretty big NLG policy. And he's like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm writing business." He's like, "Dude, you want to get paid this year, or what are you doing? Why did you do that?" So I really didn't understand that, and a lot of my policies finally will get approved or they won't get approved. But then I kind of at the convention, I kind of decided to flip the switch to just let's write America,
Right.
right? And all of a sudden, my bank account went up. I started getting paid regularly, and it changes a lot of things. Okay, so if you're out there and you're new and you're listening to all these people and they're writing all this stuff, a lot of it is smoke and mirrors, guys. They're not getting approved. Okay. There's a guy that is on FFL USA and he writes a ton of premium, but his numbers, I've outsold him and I'm writing simplified issue. Okay. Now, if those ever come in, and then what happened to me was I had like $57,000 lingering with NLG and only like 16 got approved. Now, if I would have just went to a simplified issue and slammed it through for them, got them covered, I would have got paid. Everyone's happy. But my mindset was NLG because you hear all these things, and like right now, if you're writing F and G and you're not doing pass setter, you're making a mistake because it's the same map, everything's the same. And we were like Andrew just blew me up last night because let me find the text because we had a guy. What did he say? No, I'm sorry, not pass setter, Everlast. My
Oh,
bad.
Everlast gets approved in a day.
Okay, so I'm sorry, correction. Andrew said, "Why are they writing pass setter?" And I said, "I don't know." And he said, "Why don't people write Everlast? No phone interview, no app, same price, and illustration. What the F?" And then he put in G. Funny, but I was like, because they beat pass setter in our head. And now, guess what? When you write a pass setter, 1 out of 5 are going to get a phone interview. Who wants to go through that? I don't. I know Brett, who's on Andrew's team, I think he wrote like 8 policies and 5 got called for interviews, phone interviews. And one was a 21-year-old, super healthy, nothing wrong with her. Why?
You want to hear
So
something funny, Uncle
Everlast,
Jimmy?
Stephen, what do you think of Everlast? Tell us about it because
I got a phone interview on my F and G Pat Setter.
you
Wow.
did.
I did.
When was that?
Probably like January.
Wow.
Yeah. And the guy, and what was funny, and this is the reason why, like, when we had Royal Neighbors on last week, and I grill people on like why I hate phone interviews. Um, the lady that called me for the F and G interview, obviously all the calls are recorded and all that. She asked me if I had high blood pressure probably 21 times,
Jeez.
like in different ways. She was like, "Hey, so have you ever had any hypertension?" No. So like no like high blood pressure or anything? No. Did you go to the doctor and they said like you had high blood pressure but you didn't take any meds? No. Like she asked me that question worded differently 20 times. I literally called Larry and I said, "If you want my business, pull that damn call and fire that lady." Because I was like, I'm never sending you business if my clients have to go through that crap.
What did Larry say?
They did, which is really funny because Ryan Parker called me probably like a month later and was like, I apologize for ever putting you through that. And I'm like, I know that was hell. But yeah, but you know what I mean? Like Everlast is there to they're trying. I know they're trying. They're trying to compete with the IULE and the America IUL, where they can give you a 1 day decision, which is awesome. No phone interview, no all that, which is
Mhm.
awesome. But like we're just like, can you make your app a little easier? Because Jesus. Um, but it's cool though. You know what I mean? I like that aspect of what they're doing. But no, you guys are 100% right, man. I tell agents all the time, like, dude, you got to be able to stay in business too.
And it's tax time, right? We're all going to pay some big tax bills. We wrote some business last year. There's no way around it. So you're not going to be flush with cash for a minute. So it does two things, right? One, makes you work, hopefully, because you got to. rebuild what you gave away. And two, you're going to spend more money because every time you write that, last year I wrote a $20,000 check. This year I'm going to write a $40,000 check to the
Nice.
IRS. There's no way around it. Man, I thought I spent enough money. I didn't spend enough money. And I don't know what I'm doing. Like I just am a rookie at being a business owner. Now they want me to do a SEP and I did the quarterly, but it's still it doesn't matter. Like they're gonna take their money from you.
Right.
And then, my wife makes really good money. When you combine the two, now it makes me wonder, do we got to split each other up? What do we got to do but again, it's one of those things where it's good because it puts you back against the wall and it forces you to work, right? We have to have things that make us want to go to work because it's spring. Everyone's got spring fever right now. It's beautiful outside. And, me and Gary, well, we left at what, 7 o'clock last? I know you left a little bit after me, but I was in here at 8 o'clock in the morning and I left at 7 o'clock last night, and I didn't
Okay.
write anything, man. I set a ton of appointments and I did a bunch of illustrations that I got pushed off but that's the game. You know what
Well,
I
that,
mean? And through
it's
activity,
crazy. It's crazy,
tell them,
Jimmy, because, that's how it's been for me this week too. All day, nothing, right? I mean, all day, dial, dial, dial. But that efforts of that dialing all day, next day I wrote so I've written like almost 11 grand this week, but it's been one day right, next day not right, one day right. And so it's the consistent ongoing of doing it every day that makes it land. And then just when you don't, like last night, the last one, you were leaving the office, Jimmy, and I was leaving the office, and that guy, we're gonna get him tonight, and it's either gonna be 1,079. This is an Ethos lead, guys, by the way, 1,079 for a term policy a month, or $1,500 for an IUL policy. He's gonna do one of those. That guy was very amenable, and that's like 12 to 18 grand from a simple $8 lead, and that was dialing
That's
all
so
day.
awesome. But see,
yeah,
Dialing all day and the last dial of the day.
it's
it's
funny too, is like Gary said, if you're not dialing between 4 and 7 p.m. daily,
it's
you're
foolish.
missing the witching hour.
Yeah.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, because 4 o'clock is 7 o'clock on the East Coast, it's 6 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Mountain, and then 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock is our time, and then you're fading out. But that is the magic time because Gary makes all of his money, and I make a lot of my money at that time.
You're
We're going to
so
talk
right,
about that right
man. I
now.
could go all day, and then 4 o'clock I start heating up, man. I don't know what it is, but
We're going to talk about that right now. For those of you that are taking notes, write this phrase down because Andrew Taylor taught me this when I was brand new, and it never will ever run away from me. He said, "You pay your bills during your day, you get ahead during the nighttime, the evenings, and you get filthy rich running on the weekends."
Yeah.
wow.
Because what happens is most of you guys will call Monday through Friday 8 to 5 because you think that's work hours, but your clients are also working too. So when you stop at 5, that's when they get off of work. Right? And so, like Uncle Jimmy is saying, and Gary's saying, from 4 to 8 is like the money hour. Like, if I had a choice of what time to work, I work those hours.
Yeah,
Just,
I'd go in the office at 2 o'clock.
yeah, that's just me being lazy, but like ambitiously lazy. You know what I mean? So, like, that's my answer. But here's what's crazy. Like this, like, so, like, the telesales thing has been cute, man. It has. Um, it's a double-edged sword, right? Because you're allowed to work multiple time zones, different areas, all that stuff. But it also gets people like complacent quicker. And so, like, it was so funny. Like Will Lore, who's a Hall of Fame producer, guy's ripping 40, 50 grand a month with us easily. And he hops on Zoom with us. He goes, dude, there's no one on Saturday. And I'm like, I know. And he goes, we're so comfortable working Monday through Friday. He goes, Steve, if only people understood 70% of my premium came on Saturdays, I wonder how quickly they block out Saturdays for them to work. You know what I mean? And so, like, this past Saturday, before like noon, we had like five, six, seven sales in our group. And I'm like, this is not an accident, by the way. This will happen every
Mm-mm.
Saturday because clients are home. They're not at work. They're
It's
not
funny
pissed.
because I come from the hospitality industry, and when I had to work was when everybody was off. On holidays, I worked every holiday. At nighttime, not so more busy because everybody's off work. Insurance is the same thing, guys. And you got to hit them when they're off, right? 4 to 6 4 to 7, 4 to 8 o'clock at night, Monday through Friday. And then if you just get 8 to 2 on Saturday, you will murder it. You will
Murder it.
absolutely murder it. And then you still have time to go home, dick around in your yard, do whatever you want to do. And you have Sunday. And sometimes, you're going to run a couple appointments on Sundays because they want to see the illustration. It's going to push, but it's a couple of appointments. And then Monday, grind again. But if you're not working Saturdays, I don't know. I
Get
don't tell you.
filthy.
And it's
I would
funny
say
because a
get
lot of times
filthy.
it's me and Gary on Saturdays. That's it in the office. It's
I
it's
know.
unbelievable.
Well, and I think the filthy rich has to be, you have to have time blocked off when you're recruiting and working with your team and having extra meetings like I do every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 6:30 in the morning. We're doing training. We do an orientation call here at 12 noon today. You got to block in the time that you're working with your team too. That's where the filthy rich comes in. You can't, if you're a one-man show or one-woman show, you're going to be riding a unicycle, or not a unicycle. You're going to ride a bike that stays in place.
Right.
Okay, you've got to be building at the same time as selling insurance, and then and stay with it, because you can go sometimes weeks and months and not find your A players, and then all of a sudden you start to gain some momentum, and it can go very quickly. And that's just, if any of you guys have been frustrated with your team that isn't building, it's because you're not consistent with putting people into the funnel of getting people on the team, because you're going to find the right people, plug them in on the right meetings, and it's going to go. But I would say if you could do your leadership time in the morning and do your sales time in the late afternoon and evenings, and give that gift to yourself, there is more people home, and have your people be on there with you. It's weird. It's so weird that sometimes um, we'll have 3 or 4 of us is all that will be on late afternoon dialing. Everybody else has got, and I'm thinking this is the best time right
I
now.
know.
But we'll
I
well,
know.
we'll have 10 people during the day on live dial, or 12 people during the day on live dial. But like, where are you guys now? And so often it's just 3 or 4 of us. And I go, you know what? Move your calendar around a little bit and
Yeah.
dial with us. You're going to get more sales. But I'm going
Hey,
to bring it up again
another thing
today.
that's huge that I never did, and I'm doing a lot more now, is I used to always like to run the East Coast because at 8 o'clock East Coast, 5 o'clock here, but I didn't know any of the cities. I wasn't familiar with the area. So I started buying local leads in California, which I know Southern California on the back of my hand. And I started buying local leads here, and now I can have a car. Oh, where? Oh, you're from Montclair? Oh,
Right.
my grandmother lived on Mountain. You know what I mean? I know the area very well. Or, hey, we have an office right here in Las Vegas. You want to come see us? You can come see us. You know what I mean? And it's something that I think I never did. I watched Gary killing it, and then I started buying locally. And guess what happens? There's a familiarity. And
Right.
they want to do business with a local person. Do you have something in common? There's
Area
a
code
whole thing
matches, the
that
pickup rate
works.
is higher,
And they feel more comfortable too, that your
all that.
office is just right and you live in town, and just
All
it's
that.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, all right, man, because we have time. So like I like bringing up sensitive topics. Do you guys believe there is a dead hour to dial?
No, I don't.
No, I mean, I don't do as well on my 8 a.m. in the morning calls, but I think it mentally, I've got to be at work.
Okay.
I
So
feel guilt.
here's why I say this.
Yeah, yeah.
I've always felt, me personally, 7 to 10 was hot,
Always.
right? 7 in the morning to 10 is
I
hot.
love those. Yeah.
Right. So there's a reason why our calls start at 10 for everybody that wonder why, because it's right when shit gets to suck. And also, if you're running final expense, seniors take naps right around this time.
Yep.
So from 10 to 1-ish, 10 to 2-ish, it's kind of here, which is where we do a lot of our business stuff. That's where the recruiting calls kick in. That's where, the team calls and the work with your team and call the stupid carriers. That's where that kicks in. And 4 to 8 is money. I've screamed that schedule. I know people think I'm crazy for it, but I go, dude, if I had 8 hours to work, I work from 7 to like 10-ish and then 4 to 8. That'd be mine, 8 hours.
Yeah. And a lot of people say that too. It was funny when Nick was running leads, Andrew's little brother, he'd always go to the gym. He'd do something during the day because he was running final expense.
Right.
And I'm like, why? He goes, because no one answers the phone. They get tired, they take a nap, and then he goes, you want to catch them in the morning because they just woke up and they're raring to go, and their mind cognitively is everything's working. And then they're going to take a nap. And then you want to hit them 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon because they just woke up and they're fresh again. And then they're pretty much done. They're not going to answer the phone after 5:30, but that's when you go after your other clients, right? But I don't think there's a dead time. And in the winter, I come in early and I usually get a sale or two before people walk in.
Right.
And in the summer, I don't know what it is, but you have to work later.
Yeah.
Oh
People are
yeah.
out after work, they want to go do something and then they go home. So you have to get that mindset, if the sun's staying out longer, you're working longer. If it's dropping, you know what I mean? Like that's how people work is when the sun goes down, right? And I don't know. I don't think there's a bad time though. I have a new recruit and he was in here and I threw him some Wisconsin leads in the middle of the day to see what he was worth. And he was quadruple dialing these people, man. He was an assassin and they all picked up on the fourth dial. Like it was crazy. Like he's like, I know, I'm psycho. I'm gonna do it one more time. And then who is this? And then it was funny because a couple people were watching him do his thing, and I don't think they're. I know I got more aggressive after I watched him
Right.
do his styling, and that's the thing about being in an office. You're going to see other people's methods and madness, and then it just helps.
Right. No, it's true. I asked that question earlier because two of our top producers literally go to the gym at noon every day. And I'm not even mad about it because I know why. You know what I mean? And it's because that for me, I call it dead time. Like
It's a
that
dead time.
it's the middle of the day where people are sleeping, especially seniors. Like, because you got to remember, like pre-COVID, if you were running, mortgage protection leads, they all had jobs. So like you could only run after 5 because that's when they got off. 5, 6:30, 8 o'clock. Those were the three appointment slots, right? But if you wanted to run in the mornings, you had to run FE and you had to catch them really early in the morning or like right before your mortgage because right at lunchtime, that was nap time. Like that's where we picked that up. So
So what did you guys do? You ran final expense in the morning and mortgage at night,
yeah,
Stephen, back in
that's
the
the
day?
only way you can supplement a full schedule because if not, you weren't running. Like Andrew and them had a rule like if you weren't going out for like 8 to 10 appointments, don't go out at all. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's brutal. So I'm like, I got 3 mortgage. And they're like, well, book some in the morning or else don't even go. I'm like, oh wow.
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, it's all changed now because we can just strike a phone call and do a one call close.
exactly. That's why I'm
Which is what
saying
we have to,
telesales
which
is beautiful in that sense.
we need to perfect the one call close. It's gotten to the point that like if 30 to 40% of the appointments we set, and when we're damn good setting appointments, aren't showing, we're wasting time.
Right.
We have to, all of us learn how to do the one call close and go right into the presentation.
That's what
Or
I
at
always
least the
tell
very,
people. It's
at-
not up to the agent.
yeah,
It's up to the client. Right? Like if I call you, Gary, and you're in literally dropping off your daughter at school, that's a bad time to present to you.
right.
You know what I mean? But if I call you and you're like at home, I'm like, bro, I'm doing it right now.
Hmm.
And that's why I always find it so fascinating when people go, we only do this in our organization. I'm like, you're also neglecting a lot of money because there's other pieces of this business too. So cool, man.
I always say, they dispatch me to speak with you right now, but if you're in the middle of something, I can call you back in 5 or 10 minutes. That's what I try to do. Now, often I won't have that option if they're in the middle of something, but the 5 or 10 minutes from now, those are most of my sales, not the appointments.
Right.
It's weird too, is that we set a lot. I know there's agents that set a lot of appointments, but they can't close the door. Okay. Or their appointments don't show up for them, right?
For them to
And
even
Gary
close the
does
door.
something that's kind of unique. And then basically be, hey, Steven, I'm going to send you a text message with my credentials. And can you just reply and an appointment? Can you just give me the professional courtesy to reply yes or okay that you got that for me? And that sets a different level
Right.
of respect for the agent, right? And it does. So when I started doing that, when you get that yes or okay back, that's a
Oh,
player. That's a player, man. Like, and then the ones that don't do it, okay. You know what I mean? You know that they're probably a two wanting to get insurance, but the ones that actually say yes or okay, they're probably going to answer the phone. And you never want to push it off. You know what I mean? You want to get it. Like Gary's really good at going, I can call you back in 5 minutes.
mhm.
You know what I mean? Because whatever you're doing is only going to take 5 minutes. Let's just be honest. Unless you're at work and you're grinding, then they're going to tell you, right? They're going to tell you what the conclusion is. Well, I get off at 4:30. Can you call me at 5? So he's got concrete landing where these people are going to be. And I think a lot of agents get excited. They set a lot of appointments, but they don't get them to buy into them. There's no trust. I mean, are you sending a picture of yourself? Are you sending validation? Like saying, I am an agent. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, what are you doing for them to say that I'm going to answer your phone call?
Right.
Because there's a big thing in trust that we have to get over them
Even
immediately.
more with the ethos leads, if you're going for bigger premium IULs, you need to portray yourself as a person that can sell a five or $10,000 issue, IP.
Case. Yeah.
you know. I send a text which kind of confirms with a little code, and then I actually send them a picture. I took a picture of my little name tag that I used to use when I ran in person and my business card. So it's just a picture that they could see both of them. And some of us don't even have a business card because we're lazy. We're working from home now. But a business card portrays quite a bit. People see that you have a business card. And then I send them a graphic that I had made for me for hitting Hall of Fame. But you guys could have a graphic made about Gold Award, a graphic made about your successes in life, but a graphic about you and how professional you are, and color, and it's huge. And then I sent a link to our company website. I sent all three of those with my text so that I know it's not a credibility issue when I do get them on the phone. There might be other issues why they're not working with me, usually financial. That's usually the biggest objection people give us is financial, but it's not a credibility issue. And
Right.
even if I get on a one call close, like, why don't you go grab a notepad real quick? I'm going to go ahead and send you a quick text, picture of my license, some credibility things, and a link to our website. And when they see that, it's just like the elevation goes way up, and I get a lot less financial objections.
It's crazy because lately people are hesitant to give their banking for some reason, even though you told them it's like leasing a car. You're gonna have to give me your banking. They're gonna do a credit recheck on you. They're
We
gonna
still
do
get
a
some of that no matter what
prescription
we
check.
do, Jimmy. We get
You
that no
what?
matter what. Yeah. Yeah.
What'd you say?
And we get some of that no matter what we do, but it
I
eliminates
know,
it.
but lately it just seems like it's happening more and more. And I don't know why that is because people are just really and it's not just me. I'm talking to other agents and they're having the same issue.
I'm getting it too. I know.
I know, and I just wonder how do you get around that, Stephen?
What
When
Janelle
you're
does is she uses crank wheel. Do you guys use that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, now I am.
She loves using that.
It's free.
It's free, and then but it's transparency
Mm-hmm. And it's a
because
text. It's not a stupid Zoom link that no one knows how to open.
right. But it's
It's a
not just that, but
text.
like the client can see what you're doing with the
Mm-hmm.
info, which that's a lot of the trust aspect of telesales is, that we were sitting down with Clint Nuntapreda at the lock-in, and he was selling TIFF. It's called Crank Wheel. Um, he was using Crank Wheel, and he was like, he literally pulled his driver's license and his military, the card. I forgot what it's called, like the discharge card, and he literally like flashed it on the screen for them to see. You know what I mean? And he was like, "Yep, I'm just gonna walk you through the app." And yeah, I don't need it, but the carrier does. Like that whole thing. And I was like, wow, like that was smooth, man. The tough part about telesales, because we never got this in face to face, right? But that's the give or take, right? The tough part about telesales is kind of like what Gary said, it's going to happen. We can try to mitigate it as much as we can. You can't eliminate it, it's not possible. It's going to happen. But it's like, how do you supplement that? You just have to run more to get your ones that actually do lay down, right? Like that's my answer because the amount of people like I've literally hear on live dials, they go, "Yeah, man, I love you. Yeah, man, I ain't giving you like, all right, you know." So, um, yeah, that's a tough one. How many presentations do you guys do a day, give or take? Like full sales presentation to the point where you show options.
I would say I'm my goal is five if I can get to five.
Probably three or four.
Okay.
And some days it's, better. Some days, everything falls into place, the gods are smiling on us and you don't even have to do really anything and people are just buying. And other days you work really, really hard and have to send a lot of emails out and do a lot of follow-up. So, it's just activity. If you just keep at it and you just stay hungry and work, good things are going to fall your way, and the more your muscle memory builds, a lot of people don't know products. That's something I learned through the Ethos leads was I know how to pivot now. I know what carriers will cover what. And that's really important in this industry because you only have so much time to get a sale.
Right.
And if you really don't know your products and you're a one horse trick pony, you're going to lose out on a lot of business because there is a carrier for every single client we have. Even if they're only 29 and have HIV, we can sell them an accidental death policy with Mutual of Omaha. I mean, there is something we can offer them.
But I just realized yesterday that they have to pay that day. Jimmy said on that, and I didn't know that.
That is the 15th of the month. That used to be the rule.
No, they draft that thing immediately. But we try to run Foresters, and Foresters wants to do. There's three medical questions. America, you have to do $1,000 whole life policy, so there's medical questions. Moo is the only one that is truly a guaranteed product.
Interesting. Yeah.
Someone just put in the
has
thing of America ADB.
They decline as well for certain things, which is fascinating. It's a different story, but anyways, cool. Well, hey man, I appreciate you both. Truly. I'll see you guys shortly, but man, like those Ethos leads, I look at it like this, and Gary, you kind of said this earlier. I never like replace leads. I just kept adding. You know what I mean? Like if what you guys are selling right now works, don't change it. We just go, hey, throw these in to supplement if you have a slow week. That's all.
That's it. That's
All
what
of
I
us.
do. That's exactly. I'll just buy $200 worth by 3 or 4 days, and I have my Facebook generating. And when I feel like I need, like at the lock-in, I bought $180 worth of leads and wrote 5 grand and eat those leads in 2 days.
One of our guys on our team that's really been having a turnaround here in the last 2-3 weeks. Two things he's been doing. One is his name is Rob Lake, and he's been writing $6,000 deals, $12,000 deals. He's like writing some really good ones because he's buying 20 Ethos leads a day.
Right.
He's got going in and buying a whole bunch. He's going in there and he's committing to getting those 20 Ethos leads a day, and he's playing that game. We showed a video about from a gal named Janelle on one of our calls recently, and she plays the game. I don't know if you remember this, Stephen, but it's been game changer for a lot of us on our team recently, where you get 1 point for every dial, you get 10 points for every appointment, and you get 66 points for every presentation. And she wrote Hall of Fame working part-time, 3-4 days a week, trying to hit 2,000 points a week.
Hmm.
And so she didn't measure how many days a week she's working. She just dialed and did it till she hit her 2,000 points.
That was 4,000.
2,000 points.
But she lowered it because when she first came, it was 4,000. She was only working Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and she had already been at like 240 grand. And I was like, wait, what are you doing? Like,
yeah, it's 2,000 points. And the good thing that we kind of played with the other day on our call was a lot of people's goals to at least get to gold award first. Hall of Fame might be kind of, a big jump for some of you, but to hit 200,000 is really respectable. And if you just say, I'm going to get to 1,000 points every week, 1 point for a dial, 10 points for an appointment, and 66 points for a presentation, and then put the right leads in place, watch your sales grow. And it's working for Rob, and it might be helpful for some of you guys.
I love that, man. That's good. That's a gem, by the way.
Yeah, it's just she's an activity tracker. And she says through activity, you'll find sales. She doesn't really care. She just does her point method and that's it. And um, yeah, she just keeps swimming. That's
Yeah.
it. She's a swimmer, man.
I
But
believe in that. Activity breeds results, and put your
yeah,
self-esteem into your work habits as opposed to your work results. And so it's all about activity. And people think they can make it in this job working part-time and working 10, 15 hours and not
mm-mm,
keeping track and not, if you're joking yourself. You've
mm-mm.
got to put the time in and you've got to put the activity in, and then the good things will happen. If you add skill set on top of it, that's the key. And you're only going to get the good skill set by continuing to put the time in.
I love it. I appreciate you guys, man. Thank you, Uncle Jimmy. Thank you,
Yep.
Gary,
You
for
bet.
hopping
Thank
on.
you,
Sure.
Stephen.
Take
Absolutely.
care,
Hey,
guys.
guys, let's have a great week. Next tomorrow, we have our agency building call. We will shoot that information out later on. But just a reminder for everybody, because the text message will go out soon. Later on today, on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Pacific, I will do the new agent orientation. It's more for folks that are in pre-licensing, where we're going to basically do a live overview of Family First Life, give them tips on how to pass the tests, answer any questions they have, especially those that are in class right now. And then at 4 o'clock, we'll do the leads one-on-one call, which basically talks about the leads that new agents should buy, the lead strategies they should have, what types of leads are there for them to run. Um, and I say that because when we were growing at a massive rate, this is what we're doing, and we're bringing this back weekly. So today at 3 and 4, those calls are on. Now, here's the thing: you don't have to hop on. You guys are already agents, but if you have folks that are new, feel free to send them our way. So appreciate you guys. Thank you, Uncle Jimmy. Thank you, Gary. We'll see you. We'll see you
Thank
guys
you,
soon.
Stephen.
All right, guys.